Now, this is a little bit of a tricky one, but I want to bring it up. And I'm sure you've come across this before. People may be watching thinking, gosh, these, you're both fit. Well, relatively fit. We've got injuries and things, but, you can go and do this climbing. You can do, really, you can't be that ill with your EDS. You can't be that ill if you can go out and do all this climbing. And there's a lot of people who would be saying they can't do that level of activity. How would you respond to comments like this, that, if you're not sitting at home and, not doing anything, then, you can't really be suffering with your EDS symptoms? Yasmin, what would you say to that?
So that one's, it's a tricky one that I have come across. And it can be hard to answer without getting really defensive. But really, when you think about it, for me, climbing is almost the perfect cocktail of medication for EDS in a way. So the first thing I would say is that when I'm climbing, what you see is the tip of the iceberg. You see me at my happiest, at my most pain-free. What you don't see is me lying on the floor in between climbs, feeling rubbish. You don't see the whole journey home, me feeling a bit sick or tired. You don't, it's the tip of the iceberg, what you see. My poor fiance having to do all the housework because I've sacrificed everything for my one climbing session, of the week. So those are the bits you don't see. So I'd say I have to remind myself that there are sacrifices that I've had to make, but also, as I said, it's the perfect cocktail. So climbing is mindful. It's very, it can be very controlled. As Anusha said, she's becoming a dynamic climber, and she's signed herself up to teach me how to jump for things after lockdown, because I am what they call a static climber, which is the opposite. And I do things very slowly and very one bit at a time, because I have good balance. I have no coordination. So I do things very, very methodically. But yeah, that sort of like is my physio. Climbing is one of probably climbing and maybe dancing are the only two sports I can think of that are completely non-repetitive. Every single move I do on that wall is different. So it's full body, and it's not like when you're doing reps in the gym and you're putting strain on the same muscles and the same points again and again. There's no reps in climbing. Every movement is different. And it's stepwise, as we've both said before. You can judge where you're at on the day and judge you could judge it by the number, the grade that's assigned to the climb, or you could judge it by looking at the climb, how you feel, the angle, because you've got to remember different angles, steep, and it's stepwise. You can work your way. So even someone who is struggling to walk, if they can just sort of almost even just pull themselves up to touch a hold, that's one step. And next time you do another step. And I think that's what people don't realize when they see someone who is chronically ill climbing. They don't realize the kind of the sacrifices that person has to make, maybe just to even get there, and B, the adaptations that they've made to the way that they climb and their training to get them to where they are. So that's kind of my non-defended response to that.
No, thank you. I know it's a difficult question, but I know it gets asked. It's the one thing we always hear, isn't it? Oh, you don't look sick. I do my exercises every day, and my Pilates and my movement therapy, and I'm on all these amazing machines, and but how can I do that every day? I'm supposed to be sick, but so I know it comes up. So Anusha, what would you say about that?
It's hard not being defensive about that type of thing. I think it's about being aware that to make the choice to climb, especially the way I choose to train, it's effectively doing the same thing an elite athlete has to do. I've got a sports nutritionist, I've got a strength trainer, I've got a climbing coach, I've got a medical team supporting me to do it. Now, most elite athletes don't need that whole level of support, not at the level I'm climbing at, but because I'm actually so ill, I need that support to be able to do what I do. I'm making that choice to spend my time and frankly my money on doing something I absolutely enjoy doing, and making a choice not to stay at home and effectively wallow in effectively what is a mountain of diagnoses. I temporarily come home to my parents and met new doctors, and they've literally hand in hand, that's the one, head in hand, sorry, you know, with seeing the list of what's happened at the moment. I am currently struggling to walk between parallel bars. In fact, I'm falling over into parallel bars, yet I'm climbing. Even now, I'm doing both. It's a dichotomy. The other thing I'd say is everybody's on their own journey. That, you know, just because you can't see yourself doing it doesn't mean others can't. And that doesn't mean you can't either, actually. I challenge anybody who says they can't climb, because I'm a co-founder of Paraclimbing London, and I have brought loads of people with EDS. There we go, she's repping. Brilliant, I've left all my stuff in London. You know, I've had hours and hours of conversations with people with EDS who've been so nervous about trying to climb because they thought they couldn't. And I brought one person in particular who's gone from needing an hour-long conversation to persuade her to come and have a cup of tea with us to competing a year later.
Amazing.
So, like, everybody can do it to the level they choose to, and just because you see somebody who might be potentially photogenic on Instagram doing their thing, it doesn't mean they're actually okay. And the other thing is, I am incredibly functional when I'm not well. Like, that's just something I am good at. Until I'm actually really to the point where I can't adapt, I will function.